Welcome to Vaudeville and TCG. I'm Storm, and this is Genius Invocation. I'm going to take time in this video to go over some basics as well as some more intermediate knowledge for this card game. Before I get into that, I'm going to tell you, why should you care? You should care. I'm a new creator, and this video is going to be very lightly edited because I'm not so good at that yet. But I love trading card games, and I love Genshin Impact, and this is the best thing that has happened in Genshin Impact for me recently. And I just want to share my love of the game and my knowledge with everybody. I play a lot of Magic the Gathering and the Pokemon card game competitively, as well as any other card game that may or may not come out. I also co-own a brick and mortar store with a very good friend of mine, so I tend to know just a lot about card games in general. We're going to go over some of the basics of Genius Invocation that some of you might already know, just from doing the tutorials and whatnot. Card games boil down to resources in the end. Everything's a resource. Your cards in hand, your dice in this instance, your life total, your everything. Generally, you have 30 HP that you have to get through for every team. That's your stock standard life total. That's what you're going to try to... That's the magic number you got to hit in your damage in your decks. There's... you draw 2 cards at the end of every turn. If you have 10 cards in your hand, they will... If you have 10 cards in your hand, any further that you draw will automatically be discarded. So you got to use it or you lose it, essentially. The plus side and the similarities to Pokemon extend to that you know what all of your opponent's abilities do. You know what all their attacks do, and you know what all their bursts do. So you're never surprised necessarily by what they can do. And if you don't know what they can do, you can stop during the match, take time, you click on their portrait, and you can read every one of their attacks. Even if you have to do that at the start of every game, you just do it. It'll help you just knowing what they can do. The game is broken down into various phases. There's the roll phase, the action phase, and the end phase. During the roll phase, you roll 8-sided dice, and this determines your elemental pips that you can use during the game. These can be important and they can fuck you over. Probably shouldn't say fuck. These can be important, they can screw you over, but it can be also pretty easy to minimize the effects that any of these rolls have with your deck design. The action phase, you can everything. You can use skills, attacks, and switch characters. These are considered actions, and they use your action for the turn. You go back and forth with an action with your opponent during the round. You can play cards and tune cards, which is you discard a card and you fix the color to the color of one dice to the element of your active character. Those are fast actions. These are generally the main things you do during your turn. You play cards, you attack, etc., etc. You use all your dice if you can. My cat's raising hell. He's not happy. Important thing to note about this is some cards you play can change the speed of certain actions you take. So certain cards can make you switching a character to a fast action instead of a regular action. This can help in surprising your opponent and that gets into more in-depth stuff I can talk about later. Generally decks are revolved around certain archetypes. We're going to use Magic examples for this. There are 3 main archetypes, and there's a lot of branching offshoots of this, but the 3 main ones you need to concern yourself with is Aggro, control,
In a trade
and
war,
mid-range.
the perfect hunter leaves no trace.
An aggro deck would want to burn somebody's health down as quickly as they possibly can and as most efficiently as they can. So they're not going to be concerned with value. They're not going to be like not a lot of value. It's mostly just low costing, low to the ground damage. As much of it and as cheaply as you can get. Some examples of characters that would fit this are both the Stonehide Lava Churl and Razor. A control deck is going to try to slow the game down and
Even if an
outvalue
antique is
you
priceless,
out of
the happiness
plays that
brings
include
lasts for
attrition
only
as
the
well as
moment that you
disruption.
obtain it.
And usually they have one big thing they can do to help end the game with that tends to cost a lot of resources. Some good examples of characters for this sort of strategy would be Mona and Sucrose. A mid-range deck is more defined by how the structure of control versus aggro is. It wants to try to disrupt and control the aggro decks while also outpacing the control decks. So it's middle of the road, mid-range. And it can be hard to define, like just flat out. But some great examples of characters that fit the strategy would both be Kaching and the Fatui Pyro Agent. We're gonna go through some deck construction tips and a few cards that might help you along the way. I'll go ahead and talk to the cat here while my cat's raising hell. Decks in this game are going to revolve around elemental actions. There's no way around it. This is simply the best thing you can do. You have 30 cards in your deck, so you have a 28% chance. If you have 2 copies of a card, you have a 28% chance of drawing that one copy of that specific card in your opening hand. If you only have 1 copy, you have a 16% chance to draw a copy in your opening hand. So pretty much, if you want more copies of an effect, then you want as many cards of that effect in your deck as you can fit. For example, if you wanted to be able to spend 1 less on 1 die, so you would use both Changing Shifts, 2 of those, as well as which one is it? Dawn Winery? Yes. You would put both of those in there, and that would be like a 50-ish% chance that you would have one of those cards in your opening hand. Things of that nature. We'll talk about equipment and artifacts. These are generally going to be more control or value-centric, since they tend to cost a lot, with the exceptions being the Gambler's Earrings here, as well as the Exile Circuit. Those are pretty wonderful aggro cards. The rest of this tends to be value. Like, trigger no interactions, you pay into it more damage. I will say the 2-cost weapons can be good in aggro and mid-range as well, since you can play them turn 1 and then double attack still, because you get 8 dice, 6 to attack, 2 to equip. They can be good, but generally speaking, these are more value control things. Most of your support card are also seek to eke out attrition values or attrition advantages. So draw 2 cards, get a reroll. This Jade Chamber specifically, I think, goes in every deck. It's pretty universal. It's 1 dice, and you pretty much ensure that you're never going to be hurting for a specific element. Otherwise, the Catherine also helps turn switches into fast actions, so this can be very good. Timaeus Wagner give you more value on top of the equipment as long as they're out. You get them turn 1. Turn 2, you'll be able to equip a 3-drop, and then they still accrue value as long as you have more equipment or whatever. Otherwise, the rest of this is just it is conditional value. If you can meet its conditions, they're good in your deck, but generally speaking, Timmy's probably the only one you're gonna run unless you are honed in on something. Maybe Iron Tongue. Iron Tongue's pretty good, generally speaking. And the event cards, these are your gotcha moment cards. This is pretty much everything you want in your hand. Anything that can change the game from what your board state presents normally. And it's a limited selection right now. It's mainly these, and then whatever resonance, if you choose to use a resonance. And I'll talk about why that might not be a good idea. But your most important ones of these would be changing shifts and leave it to me, star signs and Calx's arts, kinda. These are not too great. It depends if you're in a weapon centric deck. I could see use for this, but generally not great cards. I will usually include one send off because it can be good, can be useful in a deck. But star signs, energy manipulation, and switch manipulation are very good to have. I haven't lost yet. I can see including one, and I understand why it's good. But if you have this in your deck, you're planning to lose somebody. And I know you might still in every game, but it's not guaranteed. Food is also very good, but you can only use one of it per round per character. One per round per character. So it can be very limiting. The minty meat rolls here have been premiered excellently in the Ayaka Yamiya deck. If you've paid any attention to the current meta, they're very good there, among other places, Noel, Razor, etc., etc. The rest of these, Adeptus Temptation can be very good if you've got your burst, but it's prominently displayed since you show your opponent you have your burst. They don't necessarily know you have this, but once you play it once, you know. I would never use Northern Smoked Chicken. I would never use this. The Mushroom Pizza is good, and the Lotus Flower Crisp is very good. This trades 1 dice to eat 3 dice from your opponent. Is what it's telling you. It is such a good card, and this is just value. You plop it on somebody that's already taken a hit or two, and they're not the active character, and they just heal up over time, and they can still eat the next round while they have that effect. This can be fine. I don't like it. Mostly you're gonna run the pizza, minty rolls, adept. If you're gonna run any of it, you're gonna run these 4. And now for the resonances. Resonance can be very, very strong. I'm not gonna lie, it can be very strong. That being said, it can be very limiting. And what I mean by that is, this whole system is designed around elemental interactions. Usually, if you lose your non-resonance character, then you lose reactions. That is essentially what happens. So then you just have 2 of whatever, 2 ice, whatever it may be. You just have 2 of those, and no reactions. That means no extra damage per turn. That means you are going to get inadvertently outpaced by whatever your opponent is doing. Otherwise, up to 2 extra dice per turn. Some of these resonances are better than others. The ice one is specifically very good. It's a 1 mana Adeptus Tendation, but for any damage, it's very good. Electro is amazing for those specific teams. This, I actually really like Animo, and specifically Animo and the what is that guy called? It's the monster. Him. Mogo Kinky. Since he has a frost skill. So he's Animo, but he has a frost skill as well. So you pair him with another Animo, you get Animo resonance, and you don't lose your flexibility. So it can be good at building things like that. Yeah. That's what I got to say. Like, subscribe, follow up for more. I'm gonna probably go into some deck tech stuff in the future. You probably click off now, but I'm just gonna keep rambling. I enjoy this game a lot, and I intend to make a lot more videos in the future. Between deck techs, between card reviews, whatever. I know they have Klee and Beidou coming in the next patch, but I hope they also include some regular cards to get our hands on to have more effects to mess with the game. I know they said in the patch notes that they were going to be adjusting and balancing some cards too, which sounds good. It sounds good and healthy for the game. And I leave you with that. And if you want, you can leave me a comment down below and tell me who your favorite character is in Genius Invocation so far. Take it easy.